Hey, it's Chris here, just jumping on doing a Friday live. So, what I wanted to clarify today was I wanted to talk about AI overviews. I mentioned this a few times this week, and I just want to clarify with Google. Google's changing. So, you've got two choices. You can follow the old ways that we used to run Google Ads and not be seen and go with old tactics that are a little bit outdated, or you can kind of stay up to date with the latest trends and ways that we can run our ads to be seen through the ever changing scenarios that we're finding ourselves in, especially. I want to focus on Google Ads today. So, spoken to a number of people this week. I've audited accounts and I've explained what I'm going to just run through again about AI overviews. So AI overviews, when you're in Google, will show as you're being seen with Google, it will show your brand. And what we're finding with AI overviews, we're potentially seeing 30 to 40% less clicks on AI overviews for certain terms that we're searching for. And the reason is there's some documentation out, and I'm actually going to record a video on this over the weekend. Is there's documentation that Google has provided, which is out there, but if you don't know where to find it, then how do you know with the latest updates with Google? And it's the same with all the platforms, really. But because I do this every day, this is my job. I want to provide you with as much information as possible. So, with AI overviews, Google has basically created this environment in which, if you want to be seen, then you need to create the right strategies. And the key word here is strategies, not guesswork, not something that worked 6 months ago, a year ago. Like, I watch a lot of people with far bigger following than me that are talking about strategies that were, outdated 12 months ago. But yeah, still talking about strategies that just aren't relevant, aren't working, um, but have a bigger following. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the information that they're providing is correct. So let's talk about how we can be seen with AI overviews. So if we're saying that clicks are down 30 to 40%, why is that? How is Google creating this environment in which for us to be seen, if we're running paid ads, PPC in Google, how can we be seen in this particular part of Google, which is the AI overview? Well, it's simple. We've got a number of different ways. We can do this through broad terms for our key match types, broad, performance max, or using something called AI max. Now, a lot of new advertisers, as I'm auditing accounts, Google Ad accounts, I'm seeing more and more advertisers using AI max. Don't use AI max yet. That's what I would say. It's not something I would look to be using. I've tried it. It's not really working. Anything with Google that they bring out product wise, stay away from actually using it for 6 to 9 months. Let other people use it. We don't need to be using new products in Google for 6 to 9 months. We just don't need to be. The chances are that they're going to be in beta stage, then they need to adjust and test them. And AI Max is in that stage now. Now, potentially in 6 9 months, they might be saying something a little bit different. But right now, I would stay away from AI Max. So that leaves us with two options. And the only reason I'm bringing this up again is because I'm speaking and I'm seeing lots of misinformation around a number of accounts that I'm sort of auditing, speaking to other advertisers who are unsure, not aware, or just have no idea what I'm talking about. What is AI overview? So if we're going to find ourselves in a position that we want to be seen in AI overviews, then that leaves us with two options. One is running broad terms, and the second is running Performance Max. Now, Performance Max is Performance Max. Okay, so we run Performance Max. That's kind of self-explanatory. That's going to be a secondary layer to what you're actually doing. I would start, especially if you're new to Google, I would start with a search campaign, build out the data, get some good data, and then progress through a max clicks. I always like to start with max clicks to a max conversion strategy, and then from there you can progress the campaign. Now, if we want to be seen with a broad term, there's 3 steps that we need to be doing with our Google Ads. Now, the first thing that we need to do is when we're putting in broad terms. So when you go to the keyword planner, or when you're adding in words around your particular niche, then make sure that the words, so each word is at least 4 to 5 words long, because we're giving Google more information to then go about doing what it needs to do. Because remember, it's AI that's kicking in here. So the more, this is no different to prompts. So when you put in a prompt to create an image or a video in our world of AI, the more information we put in, the more better the image or the creation is going to appear, because we've given it more prompting. If I said to you, go and get me something to eat, that's very different to go and make me a sandwich which has got cheese and ham and pickle, and then on top of that can have a glass of water just to keep me refreshed. Very different set of prompts, which is just a set of commands that we're sending to someone, no different to what we have to do with Google, or if we're actually putting our information into a chat GPT or whatever we're using, Perplexity, for creating images or whatever we're doing with AI. So longer tail keywords is what we need to be doing. So as an example, I'm just going to give you an example. If I was a builder, just put in the word builder is not going to do it for broad. Put in residential builder near me, or residential builder in a certain location. 4 or 5 words to make a sentence, which is then going to give the data. And this is all about quality of data. If you're being spammed by Google, the chances are you've only got 1 or 2 broad terms, and then you're going to have to really nail down on those negative keywords. By having more words to create a sentence, then it's going to help you with your broad terms. That's the first step. Second step we need to do is, when we're creating our broad terms, we need to make sure that we're pairing our match types together. So if we've got, say for instance, broad running, as we get more data coming through the search terms report, call reporting logs, we can then add those terms in as exact. And what that will do, it will send a signal to Google that because we're running broad, we can then, the way Google works is, once we're on a certain bid type, which I'm going to come on to in a second, there's up to 6 different signals that the broad will pick up. And one of those signals, it will look at the keywords in your ad group. So not your campaign. A campaign is where is the top part of your, you're running the campaign. And as you run through and create your ad groups, which is going to be based around keyword themes, we need to make sure that the keyword theme is based on broad, and then we add in exact. And this is going to send in an additional signals, which only broad will pick up, which will then make sure that we're on the right path. So up to 6 signals are added when we add broad in, and those signals, one of those is that it looks at the search terms in the keywords that we're targeting within the ad group. So that's the second stage. The third stage that we need to make sure that we're adding in is on a smart bidding, which is going to be going, as an example, if you're running, say, lead generation. A very simple example is, once you go from max clicks, you want to be getting to a max conversion strategy. Now, the question you're probably saying is, well, why not just start with a max conversion strategy? The reason you don't do that is we want to be getting enough clicks to be optimizing the campaigns, the ad groups that we're running for our Google ads. So what does that mean? If we're running a campaign, we want to see, based on the budget, a minimum. Now this is a base, so this is a minimum standard that you kind of want to be aiming for. 10 clicks a day over 30 days, and then once you're getting those clicks, you should start to see conversions. Ultimately, you want to be seeing 30 conversions over 30 days. So 1 conversion a day, and then 10 clicks a day. So 10 clicks a day over 30 days, and then 30 conversions over 30 days. If you're hitting that consistently and you're doing all the optimization, you're adding negative keywords, you're making sure that your budget is not being wasted on irrelevant keywords, you're adding in the search terms, which goes back to my second point, which is where you're pairing the broad with the exact. I don't bother with phrase. That's last year. Many advertisers have been using phrase up until recently. They should have been doing that from last year. But if you're following me, I'll keep you up to date with what's working right now based on the campaigns that I'm running and what data I'm seeing coming back from Google. And then from there, we need to be running, then once we've got that, we can then move from the max clicks to a max conversion strategy. And that is what smart bidding is. If you do that, you have a higher probability of success than if you don't, because you will be seen in the AI overviews, which again brings me back to what I mentioned previously. So all of this is just strategy, experience, keeping up to date. All I'm doing is keeping up to date with the documentation. This strategy that I'm talking about was what I was implementing last year, which I've seen working, but it's only reinforcing what I'm doing because now I have documentation to say this is what you should be doing. And this is proof of pudding. So again, we need to make sure that we're giving ourselves the highest probability. Now, is there an exception to the rule? There always is an exception to the rule with Google. And that exception to the rule is if you're running a niche within a niche, then potentially you're going to have to approach this slightly differently. But that's something that I'm going to cover in a later video. So remember, if you're starting out with Google or you're running ads, make sure you've got some broad terms in there. I don't know why, but the number of accounts that I audit who have previously been with other agencies, I'm seeing phrase heavily added in, and I don't understand why. If you understand the match types, we should be using broad and then bringing in exact, because exact is the nearest variation or the closest variation to the term that actually triggered your ad. So why wouldn't you be adding in exact? Phrase and exact are very similar, so there's no reason to be using phrase. Now, if I get an account, and I'll give you a little scenario, if I get an account that has phrase in there and it's working, I'll leave it. That's absolutely fine. I'll still build the campaign around what I know, which is broad and exact, but I won't add any more phrase in. I would rather, and here's a little tip, if you're taking over an account and it's just badly structured, or you could start again, I would tend to stay with the account that is can be saved, because there's going to be data points in there that you can use as an advertiser. So why start again, go to bid strategy learning? Just update what you can, bring it to what you want to do, but just do it over a period of time. Obviously, if it's an absolute mess, then sometimes it's just easier to pause that and start again. But generally, most of the time you can save accounts just by doing what I've said. Just create the structure, leave what's working. Anything you're doing in Google or any platform, this is the same as any we should be approaching our advertising. If it's working, leave it. If it isn't, then change it. And you're going to do this every single month. You're going to be looking at headlines. You're going to look at descriptions. You're going to be looking at the keywords, negative keywords. You're going to be optimizing the account. Don't be a lazy advertiser. You know who you are. Do not be that lazy advertiser where you're pinning 3 headlines and that's all you have, and you're pinning 2 descriptions. The only time you would do that as an advertiser is if you are in a heavy regulated industry. If you're not, then you should be working the headlines, working the descriptions. Pinning headlines and descriptions is fine, but don't be just pinning 3 headlines in position 1 and then pinning 1 description or 2 descriptions in position 1. It's just like, well, what's that going to tell you? How are you allowing Google to rotate or to give you a better understanding? How are you testing? So don't be doing what I'm saying. And the only reason I say this is, like I said, the amount of accounts I see that other agencies, respectable agencies that have been running, is a bit of a mess. And they're using outdated strategies. And it's by no coincidence that it doesn't take much to then recover those accounts, get them working, and then potentially then looking to scale them. And the clients then will absolutely love you because you're giving a transparent reporting back to them. So I've gone into AI overviews. I've given you some structure. I've gone into this quite a bit. I'm going to create a video where again I go into a little bit more detail, but I just feel it's important, especially if you're new to Google, start on the right track. Start with the basics. Do the basics right. Google has put the documentation out there. I know it's not always easy to find that documentation, but if you subscribe to my channel, I'll keep you updated with what's working. Not some fancy strategy that I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. Just working with Google on good quality setup and then able to then understand how we can scale these campaigns moving forward. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to audit your account, then I'm always happy. I enjoy auditing other people's accounts and then giving that feedback, because there's always room to improve, whether that's pausing keywords, adding in negative keywords, looking at the headlines, descriptions, making them more relevant, looking at quality score. So many different places that we can optimize. So if that makes sense, let me know. And if you have any questions, again, just hit me up and we can get those answered next week.